Welcome to this edition of the Talk of Simsbury. My name is Dominique Avery. A new study was just published on the present and future effects of climate change on the United States. The National Climate Assessment warned of crippling droughts in the nation's drier regions, torrential rains and storm surges in wet regions, hard to say, and other climate-related weather disasters. Now, some of you may not believe that people are contributing to the climate problem. That's why, on the whole, the federal level not much is going on to deal with it. But here in Connecticut, there's long been a program to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. And now there's a big push to help more people go solar with state economic incentives. That program has come to Simsbury for the next 20 weeks. Today, we're going to talk about ways to help you get solar power in your house or on your house with Mickey TORO, owner of C-Tec Solar, located right here in Simsbury, and our Public Works Director, Tom Roy. We're also going to talk about some other environmental issues, recycling and hazardous waste. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Tom, I'm going to start with you because I don't want it to get lost in the solar shuffle, and hazardous waste is not nearly as sexy as solar power. And we have a hazardous waste day coming up on June 14th at the Simsbury Public Works facility.
That's correct.
And so I thought that we should probably review what is hazardous waste and what should people not be throwing in their garbage.
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's something that Simsbury has done for a number of years. We used to participate in a larger collection with the Metropolitan District Commission, the MDC. About a year ago, we decided that we would break away from that model, and Simsbury, Canton, Avon, and Granby have teamed together, a regional approach, and we've been holding the collection. This will be our second collection as a 4-town collaborative. We've done it at the Public Works facility here in Simsbury, so it's nice and convenient for all of our residents.
So we do all those towns?
All 4 towns are welcome to come that day, and it's open from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. And if you want to get there a little early, there's always a big push in the morning. But we tend to move the cars through very quickly. And what we're looking for is the items that don't belong in the trash, the items that we want to keep out of the landfill. Things that you might have in your garage, old paint, chemicals, antifreeze, fluids that you'd use in cleaning your car, bug spray, batteries. These are all things that ideally you're going to stockpile, and once or twice a year when we hold these hazardous waste collection, it's a great way to do something for the environment that really doesn't take that much of your time.
I don't think people would think of bug spray and batteries. I think most people, I'm a big recycler and very careful, and I think I throw out batteries.
If you have just your standard 9-volt batteries, you know, the everyday household batteries, if you collect them in a box, in a drawer, and once a year bring them, it really keeps, they have heavy metals, they have chemicals in them, and again, they're small in and of themselves, but it's all part of the bigger picture of what we can keep out of our landfill. And
what about light bulbs?
We will also be taking fluorescent light bulbs and compact fluorescent light bulbs from residential homes. If you're running a business, you have to look, there's commercial services available. This is really intended for residences.
Now I have one other question. I have a whole pile of phone books, and I've been told that I can't recycle them with regular recycling. Do you know what we should be doing with phone books?
I didn't think you were going to hit me with such tough questions.
I'm sorry. I should have warned you ahead of time.
You know, it's funny. There's so much information out there on recycling, and sometimes it can be difficult. I can tell you there's a lot of great resources on the web, and same thing with some of the information we covered here today. We have a very large packet on our website, the town website, specifically under Public Works, that deals with recycling and the household hazardous waste collection and what's acceptable and what's not. And we have a big list of where to bring some of the more common items that are not accepted at this household hazardous waste collection. Perfect example is prescription drugs. If you have a prescription, you don't use it all up, it's not appropriate to throw it in your trash. The best place to bring it here in Simsbury is right out front of police dispatch. They have a secure drop box. You drop your prescription in, and you can be sure it's going to be taken care of safely.
Oh, good to know. Did you know that, Mickey?
I did not know that.
Okay, so now we're going to turn to Mickey TORO. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to get into solar issues. And to me, it seems like there's 2 things we have to focus on. How much does it cost to get solar power in your house? And how is it done? And who is eligible for doing it? So that's all my questions all at once. So let's start with maybe cost.
Well, cost is going to be relative to the size of the home, how much electricity you use. But what I can say is with the Solarize program that you mentioned that lasts for 20 weeks, there's a tiered pricing. The more people in the town of Simsbury that sign up for this solar on their home, the less expensive it does become for everyone. So there's 5 tiers, and we've done these in the past, and most of the time, and every other town that we've done it in, we've got to the lowest price for the town, and that is generally 20 to 25% less than the market rate. So what it does is it allows for a bulk opportunity for the town and for us to pass along some savings that we actually incur because we're able to buy a larger sum of or amount of products or materials and then sell them to the homeowner that way and pass along the savings to the home and to the homeowner. What we're talking about is from as far as who's eligible for it. We like to say anybody who has an electric bill should be looking at it because the paybacks and the return on the investment are so good at this point based on incentives and tax credits that are available and this program, the pricing of this program. That being said, you need to have a home that has no shade or little shade, south facing would be ideal, but we can also do it on an east or a west facing roof. If you don't have a roof because of shading or the direction of the roof, we can certainly look at a land that's available and try to do a ground mount or a tracker that would do the same thing for you, just do it on the ground.
So let's say we'll take my case. I have quite a bit of shade. I was one of the last places that loses snow in the winter. If I was interested, would I then call you and have someone come out? How does that work?
Yes, you can go to solarizeCT.com/Simsbury or just Google Solarize Simsbury, and it'll bring you to a place where you can sign up. Send an email to us, and we will reach out to you from our office and set up a site survey. There's no obligation. It's free of charge. And it just allows us to go out to your home, view your home, view your roof, assess your location, and let you know if it's a viable project for us to do. Or in a lot of cases, we can do it from the phone. If it's as obvious as, if you're saying you have a lot of shade and we can see that from a GPS view, a satellite view, then we may tell you that right on the phone, but most of the time we'll send somebody out to assess your home.
I mean, if somebody really wanted to, they could cut down some trees.
We have that. That happens very often. If they feel like it makes sense to remove a couple trees to make it a viable project, then they will do that. And as I said, if you have some land, that's an option too.
So you talked about a pricing structure, but you still haven't talked about, give me a ballpark figure. What are we talking about?
So we'll use the 5th tier, which is the lowest price, because I think we've already had about 140 or 150 people interested in the program.
The turnout at that workshop was really good.
Yes.
That's less than
hasn't been that long, right?
A week.
We have lots of time left still. So we've already contracted, I believe, 5 individuals. And so I think we'll have some success in the town of Simsbury, which I'm very excited about, being a resident of Simsbury myself. So we'll use the 5th tier. The average price for an average home, probably we'll use let's say a 5 kW, which is a 5,000 kilowatt hours, would be anywhere from $20,000 to $22,000. Okay, minus incentives. So you have a state incentive, which is run through Sophia, that gives you a rebate for your production. It could be anywhere from 20 to 30% of the cost. And after that is realized, you also get a federal tax credit. So that would take another 30% off the remaining cost. So you can get anywhere from 50% of that, anywhere from 40 to 50% of that initial cost, which let's say $20,000. Deducted in incentives, so now you have a $10,000 cost out of pocket, which turns out to be anywhere from a 6 to an 8 year payback in most cases.
So I was about to ask, do people finance that? And
that's a good question, because we have a lot of options for financing. So you can do this if you choose to do it with the savings that you have ready for it. You can do that, but we also have a lot of financing options where you can be no money out of pocket, and really replace an electric bill cost with a solar project cost, and actually save a little bit of money right off the bat. And in my mind, who wouldn't want to do that?
So,
you have to pay the bill anyway, so why not do it?
Right. So what's an average electric bill? I mean, we have gas, so our electric bill is fairly reasonable. I don't know how much. I mean, like $120 in the middle of the winter.
Yeah. So you're about an average user, and that would be about a 5,000 watt system, and it would cost about that much. And you would replace your electric bill with a payment for your solar system that you're eventually going to pay down and own. So now once you've owned it, once you've paid it off, you own it. You're not paying an electric bill anymore. You're not getting free electricity. With the rates of electricity nowadays, and most of us know that in January there was a 21% increase from CLNP. Some of us may not know that actually, but there was. And so your electric bills may look bigger than they were, and that's a fact. And there's also some talk about some additional rate hikes in July of this year. So it's really a good time based on that. As I said, it really makes a lot of sense to, if you're gonna be writing a check to electric company for your electricity anyways, why not write that same check to a solar project and pay it off and then own it and not have an electric bill?
Now, what do Tom? You can jump in here too. I know that Mickey's the expert, but what do you advise people who are not going to be staying here for the full 6 to 8 years, who are going to sell their house, or if they're elderly, or what?
If you want it,
Well, I think part of what Mickey touched upon is the fact it's an asset to your home. Just as if you were repaving the driveway or painting or a new roof, you're putting on a set of solar panels which is generating electricity and resulting in savings to the overall cost to live in your home. And there's a lot of studies out there that basically say that investment in your home is going to pay for itself when you sell the home. You're adding to the value of your home, and that should therefore cover any differential in the solar panel. Because I know that is a concern of a lot of people. I don't know how many more years I'm going to be in this particular house.
Well, what's interesting about the options, as I mentioned, we have a loan that you can use, which could be no money out of pocket. We also have a lease that's available through the CT Solar Lease, where you can not pay any, you're just paying a lease payment, and you are saving money right off the first month. And both of those are transferable. So if you were to move, they could be transferred to the homeowner. As Tom said, if you are purchasing it and you're selling it, and even if it's after the 8 years or the 7 years and you've paid it off, the question comes up a lot. Well, what do I do? Is somebody going to want to buy my home with solar on it? Well, and if you bought it, then yes, the answer is yes, someone else would want to buy it. But what's interesting is that the National Appraisers Association has identified homes to be more valuable with solar. And the simple math is, if for every $1,000 that you're saving in a year's time on a solar system, it adds $20,000 to the value of your home.
So what you're saying is that when you list your house, one of the things might shortly be very advantageous to say solar solar.
Sure,
panels.
because if you think about it this way, it costs, people are more aware of what it costs to run a home. I mean, think in the past, maybe when electricity wasn't as expensive, they didn't look at it that way. But I think nowadays people are looking at homes. Okay, this house is $150,000, $200,000. This house is $200,000. But in this house, I don't have an electric bill. In this house, I do. Why wouldn't that be more appealing? It just makes more sense.
I think another way of looking at it would be similar to a home which is served by natural gas and one which is still using oil heat. It would be a consideration to a buyer.
Sure.
I think the other fact that is very interesting about where the direction of solar power has gone is that they're not putting up, as I would say, ugly solar systems anymore. They're putting up panels that generally follow the roof line. They are typically put at the same slope as your roof. There's a lot of work that's been done by really all of the solar installers to make sure that they're not a detraction to the overall look of the home.
It's interesting. I have actually been traveling for the last couple of months back and forth between Hartford and Boston. And even before this happened, I was struck by how many solar projects or solar things that I was seeing, whatever the panels I was seeing on houses just on the bus.
Yeah.
Our director asked a question before we went on the air. He said, what's the lifespan of this? So if you're thinking about financing, what is the lifespan of solar panels?
Well, most panels will all panels that we use have a 25-year warranty. And that is the manufacturers feel that is a conservative number because they feel, and there's been now, because it's been around long enough, proof to say that they're gonna last probably 10 or 15 or more years after that warranty is up. So even though the warranty might be up, you'll still be producing power after the time. Now there's a slight degradation. They take that into effect, but it's a slight degradation. But the power most of the power will be there 25 years later.
Now I bet people ask about the condition of their roof. And when you put a new roof on or when, so how do you, I bet you people are asking that.
Yeah, well, if we want about a 10-year lifespan at least on a roof. When we find people who are sort of on the fence and close, they tend to make the repairs before we put the solar up. Because if they're a couple years out, they may make the investment now. And because it's going to be great because you'll have basically the solar will extend the life of a new roof also because it's being protected from the UV rays and the weatherization that really affects the roof and makes it deteriorate over time. So panels will actually help that. So it's nice to have a new roof done. We've done this many times. Finish a roof and come right after that. Put the solar on it, and then you're really good to go for as many years as you need it.
What kind of repairs might need to be done on solar panels?
When we first install the panels, there's as far as the roof or anything else, it's really minimal. There's really no. We've never had a leak, so I'll say that we've never had a leak on a roof. So attaching them to the roof is not an issue. The repairs on the system itself, very low maintenance. There's maybe you want to spray them off once in a while, and if you want to interject here, you
I was going to say no moving parts.
No moving parts.
That's really the key thing.
The inverter that we're gonna, either a string inverter or a micro inverter, I can get into if you'd like, is really the most complicated part, and that's not really that complicated, but that's the most sophisticated part of it. And
what is the inverter?
Well, yeah. I think I might be able to help you out a little bit here with part of the Solarize program, which is so interesting, is Mickey's comfortable with these terms, and they seem rather daunting to a lot of us who haven't been involved in this. And as part of the Solarize program, we have solar ambassadors here in town. We have people who already have solar panels on their house that have agreed to help with the program. We're going to have solar tours. So if you're interested, you can actually go and talk to one of your neighbors that have done this. You can see their house. You can see all of the inverters and everything else and how it works. And you can actually talk to somebody there's no financial gain in it. They're going to simply share with you what their experience has been, what their utility bills have been. And really, I think that's going to help welcome people into this new technology.
Yeah, I mean, the inverters
is that the panel? Is that what you call it?
Well,
What's in the panel? The works.
The panel is the thing you see on the roof.
Right.
The inverter is sort of tucked away by the meter. It converts the DC power into AC power. Is essentially what it's doing. The AC power is the power you're going to use in your home for your appliances and such. So that's what it does. That's a simple way of explaining it. But the solar panel is taking DC power, sending it to the inverter. The inverter's converting it to AC power, and then you're using it in your home. That's the most complicated part. Still not very complicated, but they come with a 10-year warranty, a basic one, and then we have microinverters, which are smaller that actually go on the roof, that come with a 25-year warranty. So there's really very little concern that you should have on that. Our work that we do is that we offer a 13-year labor warranty, so you're pretty much covered from a maintenance standpoint. There's really should be no concern. I hate to say there's some companies out there that want to sort of preach certain technology to certain things to sort of scare people into certain programs as it pertains to solar. Leasing is an option, and some people like leasing because it's the leasing company's obligation for maintenance, but that's only that's not necessary because maintenance is very minimal.
So that brings me to how C-Tec Solar in Simsbury was selected to be the local provider.
Okay.
Tom, maybe that's something you can answer,
Okay.
because, you know, I mean, you could be a fly-by-night guy
Sure.
who would run off and, you know, leave all of us or who do it in the lurch.
Yeah. Well, again, the Connecticut has the Solarize Connecticut program, and it's run by, Mickey mentioned before, CEFIA, which is the Clean Energy Investment and Finance Authority. I can't say this enough. They need to pick a new name. It's difficult to remember. But CEFIA basically put out a request for proposals for towns that were interested in participating. We had some, Mark Scully in particular was one of the residents in town who has solar, who believes in this technology, and he approached the town and really encouraged us to participate in this program. We submitted an application and were selected to be, I believe, one of the 12 towns participating in what is ultimately the 4th round of this program. And what CEFIA did was they took in requests for proposals for all of the solar providers that were interested. And then Simsbury put together a team of myself, Jeff Shea, our new town engineer, who actually worked on the Solarize campaign in his previous position with the town of Canton, and Mark Scully. And we looked for which solar providers we felt would be the best fit for Simsbury. There was an interview process. We narrowed it down to 4 firms that we felt would meet our needs, and we certainly put in our preference for C-Tec in terms of them being a local installer. I think the comfort level I have in standing behind this program is that we've dealt with Mickey TORO, we've dealt with C-Tec. They're local, they have a long history, and so I can, as a town representative, say that we have faith that they're not a fly-by-night company. And that's really the end of the town's involvement. The town does not directly get involved in any of the contracting. We're making sure that they honor their commitments to our residents and that they're a qualified provider. They're the sole source under this program, but at the same time, if a resident chose to go with a different company, there's nothing prohibiting that. It's
So
just,
they don't have to.
they don't have to. They just would not qualify under the Solarize program, and they would not see some of the benefits of the mass marketing and the mass buying power that we're hoping to get here in Simsbury.
So, Mickey, you said you live in Simsbury?
I do.
And your business is in Simsbury.
Yes.
How long have you been here?
Well,
Tell
I've
me a
lived here
little
for
bit about
12 years. My wife has lived here her whole life. And the business has been here for 5 years. We merged with a company that had been doing solar thermal for approximately 30 years prior to that. That was sort of where we started in the industry. We did 2 of the largest solar thermal projects in the state of Connecticut, many homes. And then as the photovoltaic incentives and programs started to gain some momentum, we added that to our technologies that we offer. And we've been doing that since the program started.
So name some. I think I read that the skating center is doing solar. So name some businesses that people might know about that you've worked on.
Yeah, well, we've done this International Skating Center. We put a nice 370,000 watt system on their roof there. That happens to be a PPA where they actually didn't pay for any of the project. It was financed through a third party.
And they must have a huge electric bill.
They have a very large electric bill, and so now instead of paying their electric bill, they're paying a third party financier, and it's significantly less than what they would be paying the electric company. Again, for no money out of the skating center management's pocket, so to speak. We're working on, currently as we speak, we're working on the Mitchell Volvo sales and Volvo service buildings. We're also contracted to 2 more of their buildings when we're done. We've been contracted and in agreement to do all of the Department of Motor Vehicles buildings in the state of Connecticut.
The state of Connecticut?
Yeah, I think not all of them are viable, so I think there ended up being 6 or 7 of them, but we're working
And the state
through
RFP process, I know, is very tough.
Yes, yes. And we also have contracts with a few municipalities that we're working on as well. And of course, many homes.
So at the very beginning of our talk here, I mentioned that Connecticut has been trying to promote the less use of fossil fuels. And I know that 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, the legislature passed a law creating this green bank. Is that how this is financed?
That's how it is. It is. It was a very aggressive plan. They finally got it through, and it was 2 years ago. They were initiated $800 million to go towards this green bank to finance certain projects. They break up the money in different ways. One of them is the ZREC program that's going on through CLMP, where they buy energy credits back from commercial buildings that want to put solar up on their buildings. And then they're also, this green bank helps finance these residential incentives that they're doing for these programs and other programs that are out there.
So, are there any questions that were asked at the workshop that was done initially to kick this off that I haven't asked yet?
They hit us with some good questions that night, and I mean, I think in a nutshell,
you've asked some pretty good questions. I think we covered most of them. I think the most important thing to remember is that it is a great time. The program, and thanks to Tom and to Mark and to Mary Glassman, we were able to bring it to the town. I'm excited as a resident. I want it to be as successful as possible, but it doesn't cost any money to have us come out and take a look, or even to make a phone call and view it over satellite. The more people, as I said, that sign up, the less expensive it is for everyone. So it's a community-driven program that is, if you're at all interested in it, if you feel like your home is a viable location, then I'd say it's worth a phone call. Have us look.
And we're going to have our next workshop at the Simsbury Public Library on Tuesday, May 27th.
Oh, okay.
And that's going to be at 7 o'clock in the program room. So again, it's a great opportunity to come out and hear a little bit more about it. I would probably recommend, if people are interested in coming out, make the call to C-Tec, have them come out, so then you're going to have a little bit more information on how your house fits in. And the other exciting thing on the town side is we put up our large solarized thermometer in front of Town Hall this week, and you'll be able to see how many residential signups we get as we move through the 20 weeks. So,
Mickey, do you have solar power on your house?
I have solar thermal on my home.
Solar,
yes. Solar thermal is another technology that we use. It's basically heating your hot water. It's a preheat, so for your domestic hot water use. The reason why I have that and not photovoltaics is because I have shading.
Like my house.
So in parts of my roof, I can have panels, and the majority of it I cannot. So.
Tom, how about you?
well, actually, it's a funny story. First of all, I grew up on a house with solar hot water.
Oh, really?
And it was probably the late 70s, early 80s, and the system stayed up there for over 30 years at my parents' house, and very different than the modern panels. I refer to it as god-awful ugly. And I'm actually right now in the final stages of making the decision on my house. We've had it evaluated. We have a decent-sized roof, so we're probably going to be going ahead with it.
Interesting. Well, our time is up. It went fast. I wanted to remind our viewers that the hazardous waste collection date is Saturday, June 14th at the Simsbury Public Works Facility at 66 Town Forest Road, just off Stratton Brook. And for more information about going solar, just Google Solarize Simsbury. And then there's another workshop coming up, Tom just told us, on May 27th at the library. And thanks to everyone here at SCTV for getting the show on the air. Special thanks to our operations assistant, Jason Staples, who's directing the show. Thanks, of course, to my very interesting guests. And finally, thank you for joining us. If you missed any portion of this show, you can find it on our website at simsburytv.org. And if you have more time, you can watch the whole solar power workshop that was held at Eno, also on our website. I'm Dominique Avery. See you next time for the Talk of Simsbury.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.